No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we are back to episode 4 of the Battered Football Fans podcast. I am your boy, the bearded fanatic. That is Mr. Battered Jets fan himself, Mr. Danny G. And Danny, I was at dinner when I received that text message, and I don't know if I gave you any insight as to, are you serious? And then I went and saw that video. And Danny, I can honestly tell you, I felt sick into my stomach. And not because he got injured. Well, yeah, obviously I felt bad. But the fact is that I mentioned just a couple of episodes ago, I hope your quarterback tears his ACL, and then that happens. Mr. Danny G, break it down for me. How are you feeling, and how are you feeling at that exact moment?
First of all, you're a piece of shit for ever saying that you wish somebody tears their ACL.
Fair
Even
enough.
worse when it actually happens.
Fair enough.
I didn't see it live. I had my boy Mike. He was actually in the process of telling me how I could watch the game because I live in South Florida. And although I pay a lot of money for the NFL Sunday ticket, for some reason preseason games aren't included. So I always have to wait either for the replay on NFL Network or I got to figure out another way to watch it. So as he's explaining to me how or what app I can use to watch the game, one of the following texts were, you know what, maybe you don't want to watch this game. I said, why?
Follow it up.
I said, why? I saw obviously something bad happened. He goes, I don't even know if you want to know. I said, no, I need to know what the hell's going on. He's like, I think Zach Wilson just tore his ACL. I swear to God, I thought he was joking. I was like, man, stop playing with me.
You see, I did the same thing when you text me that.
But you know what you do as soon as, well, at least what I do, as soon as I hear something like that, what's the first thing you do to confirm?
You go look it up on Twitter.
Twitter. I jumped headfirst into Twitter.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, man.
And you saw that clip right there.
Everybody. He tore his ACL. How is this happening to us again? It has to be the Jets. And it's like, man, how does this keep happening? Mark Sanchez trying to win the Snoopy Bowl in the fourth quarter goes out for the year. Geno Smith gets punched in the face by, I forgot who it was.
Some guy who didn't make it anywhere.
I can't even remember his name anymore. Last year, Carl Lawson. Everybody's hyped because he's going to be one hell of a signing. He's killing in a training camp. Airs his Achilles. It's like, fuck, man. Mekhi Becton just a couple days ago. It's like, oh,
broke his kneecap.
This is the lowest point because our offensive line that everybody's talking how great it's going to be, it's no longer going to be that great. And I'm like, this is the low point. Everything has to be up from here. No, it can get lower.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it could have been worse.
Could have been worse. I was about to say, I felt for you. I felt for him because, you know, all the MILF hunting he's doing, apparently he needs to, you know, work on those knees a little bit more because he was putting a lot of work on those knees, apparently. And because, you know, when a player falls down without any contact, you know as well as I do, you think it's a torn ACL.
Right. We don't go to medical school, but as we watch enough sports where you see somebody go down without contact with the knee injury, it's a torn ACL. If you see somebody look back at their leg without any contact and they go down, it's probably an Achilles because they all say they feel like they got kicked in the Achilles. So it's one of those things that you kind of just know. Everybody's like, oh, all the Twitter doctors. No, it's just we watch sports long enough that we have a good assumption.
Okay, so fair enough. That's what we assumed on Friday. But apparently the news wasn't that bad. What's the condition like going on now?
Well, apparently it's a bone bruise and a tear in his meniscus. He's going in for surgery on Tuesday. And I guess depending on how that surgery goes, we'll have a better idea what the timetable is. So we're here in 2 to 4 weeks, which I don't believe at all. 2 to 4 weeks. When
you think it's too quick of a turnaround?
Yeah, way too quick, especially we're the Jets. That's not going to go that smoothly. So people are like, oh, maybe he'll be there for week 1. No way. No way does he have knee surgery and then just like, okay, a couple of days before they play the Ravens for the opening week, like, all right, let's get on there. I missed all of training camp, but let's get busy. No, it's not. That can't be how it is.
All right.
I think if you're treating this responsibly, you don't do that.
Couple quick points. So let's go back to the worst case scenario for a moment before we move forward, because I do want to touch on a couple of different subjects with Zach Wilson here. Before this episode, we discussed, and before episode 3, we also discussed on episode 2, that you had sort of high expectations for the New York Jets, right?
I wouldn't say high, but definitely higher than most people.
Right. And
higher than Brady Quinn for sure.
For sure higher than Brady Quinn. But let's go with the majority of Jets fans. The majority of Jets fans thought you guys were going to be competitive this year.
Yes.
My immediate thought process, and you said that somebody else tweeted it, but I thought about it right away. So I want to get your initial thought process when you read it, because it went in my head and I should have texted you as soon as you said it. If your thought process as a Jet fan, is your thought process as a Jets team, as a Jets franchise, is that you're going to be competitive this year, you stick with that quarterback room or you trade for somebody like Jimmy G. And I get it. The first thing you referenced was, can we even pay him? But let's say you could. If you're expecting to be competitive, wouldn't trading for somebody who's been to the show before be a smart decision to bring him in, even if it's on a 1-year deal?
The reason I was against it, because I was against it. I was against it for a few reasons. One, I feel like we have a lot of draft capital coming into the future, and I feel like most of it has to be given up to give Jimmy G this 1-year contract.
Yes.
2, I don't think we can afford him. $24 million, I don't see it. So if they would have done it, I wouldn't have been totally against it. But I'm not one of those people that were like, we got to do it. We got to do it. No, to me, it was like this was a rebuilding year. I think that with the quarterbacks that we have in the quarterback room, you can still progress. Maybe we're not in the hunt like I've been saying this whole time. Maybe we're not in the hunt, but I still think as a team, I mean, I understand quarterback's the most important position, but teams like Trent Dilfer win the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that we're going to win the Super Bowl, but I'm saying a team with a Joe Flacco or a Mike White could continue to grow and maybe win some games. Mike White and Joe Flacco didn't play horribly last year, and they've been looking okay in training camp. So I was against going all in on Jimmy G, because do you think Jimmy G on this team takes us to the Super Bowl?
No, absolutely not. But I thought if you're on a competitive level, if your thought process is, I think we're good enough to be competitive. Like if that's the thought process, we are good enough to be competitive with Zach Wilson. Let's say he's done for the year. I think you have to at least have that conversation. Let's bring in Jimmy G. That was just my point to that. But I guess let's go to part 2 before we get into the part where you found out that he's part 2 when he went down, torn ACL. At that point in time, you think you have enough in Joe Flacco, and do you think you have enough in Mike White, whoever you pick to start week 1, to get you through the season and still be competitive? Yes. Okay.
And now a lot of Jets fans don't agree. I think with this team, Jimmy G would be a difference of maybe 2-3 wins. Maybe if he was that great, would San Francisco really be rushing to get him out of there for Trey Lance? Would they have drafted Trey Lance if they believed in Jimmy G?
I think it's a fair point.
No, they would. If he was a franchise QB, if he was somebody that could lead you to the promised land, I understand that he did, but it wasn't on his back. And he's also made out of paper mache.
I get it. Pause. All I got to say is Jordan Love to that comment you just brought up right now. They have Aaron Rodgers and you draft Jordan Love.
Aaron Rodgers is almost 40. Jimmy G just turned 30.
You can say he's almost 40 all you want. He was also the MVP of the league. And you draft a quarterback.
But that's why they did it. The Packers did it for Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre was still playing. That's what they do.
Jordan Love still looks like shit.
Quarterbacks. Well, now they have a chance to draft somebody else to replace him in the future. Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is Jimmy G's 30. You don't give up on a franchise QB in the age of 30 and draft a trade up to draft a quarterback to replace Jimmy G if he's that great.
I'm with you, but
and again, he's made out of paper mache. He's injured all the time.
All right,
Every other year.
Let's stop the Jimmy G bashing here because you
just like him because he dates porn stars.
Okay. Well, that's
why you like him.
And then 2, Mike Tannenbaum said we might trade for him. Now that I'm just throwing that out there. Mike Tannenbaum's an idiot, but he said it. But
I would take Jimmy G over Tua. You would too. You would too. You would too.
How dare you?
That's all I got to say to that. But Joe Flacco, Mike White, you think you're still going to be competitive. I want to stay on that real quick. Me personally, I could only use the experience that I've had in recent history. Joe Flacco is a Super Bowl champion quarterback, right?
Yes, he is.
Let's say that.
Yes.
But the Joe Flacco who's joined the Jets, and you saw both of these games, obviously, because you watch all your Jets games. Do you remember how Joe Flacco has reacting when just the Dolphins blitz is in his face? He's not a good quarterback. Now, granted, here's where I'm leaning to it because I think like you think. I think Mike White is the better person. That if Zach Wilson is gone all year, I think it should be Mike White starting at quarterback for you. And that's kind of why I said from the games that I saw with Joe Flacco, I don't think he can handle that pressure anymore. But alas, I allude to you, Mr. Jet.
Joe Flacco cannot move.
Yeah.
He's not moving. He's staying in the pocket. Yeah, he's a great pocket passer, but he's not the Joe Flacco that went to the Super Bowl.
Correct.
So this was my thing, and a lot of people disagreed with me, but I don't give a fuck. So Mike White balled out his one game against Cincinnati,
yes,
right, to the point where they put his jersey in the Hall of Fame. They did, literally. Then he had a short turnaround and played against the Colts on Thursday night. He only played 2 drives. He was like, I'll tell you right now what he was. He only played 2 drives.
Yep.
And in those 2 drives, he was 7 for 11, 95 yards and a touchdown. But he got injured on that touchdown pass.
Yes.
Left the rest of the game. So for a full game, he's a Hall of Fame player already, 1 game.
Wow.
Then he goes
Christ.
And 2 drives in, scores a touchdown against the Colts. The Colts were a good team. So, boom, we got it. So, Hall of Fame game, 2 drives, 7 for 11, touchdown, 95 yards. So far, Mike White's cooking. Now, what happens? He misses the following game. He misses the following game, and then he finally comes back and he plays against the Buffalo Bills.
And we know what the Buffalo Bills are.
They're the best team in the NFL. The best defense in the NFL. So no touchdowns, 4 picks, loses his job to Joe Flacco, and then that was it. And then they gave up on him. Yeah. So I think that Mike White, look, if Zach Wilson was out for the entire year, roll with Mike White. He's the younger option. We don't know what we have with him. You might get lightning in a bottle, as they say, and maybe he'll have a great season. If Zach Wilson's only really out for 1 or 2 games in the regular season, roll with Joe Flacco.
Okay, I'm with you. Moving into the third point, and now my final point was Zach Wilson's injury. Now that you know, and we're going to go based off what you've read, which is 2 to 4 weeks. Let's say 6 weeks at best. Being that it's an 18-game season, and besides 17. Besides Brady Quinn thinking that you were going to go 0-8 anyways to start the season off, what difference does it really make? You're not going to hurry Zach Wilson back if you're thinking about being competitive this year. You could afford to not have Zach Wilson in the first 3 games, right?
Yep.
So at that point, let's say that he misses the first 3. You want Joe Flacco at the helmet as quarterback for the New York Jets.
Can you or can you not see the headlines already? Joe Flacco beats Ravens. Okay, week 1. Like, I see it. I know it may be very irrational. It may be me trying to stop being battered and be more optimistic.
Yep.
But I still think, I always thought that we would win week 1 just because I don't believe in Lamar Jackson. I think that we have plenty of time to prepare for that first week. So you can build a great game plan to stop Mr. Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
I think, and we're at home. So I think there's a good chance that the Jets still could steal that game with Joe Flacco at the helm. After that, I don't know. But I think week 1, the Jets still have a great chance.
So whether you go 0-3, whether you go 3-0, which is not going to happen, or let's say you go 1-2, 2-1, whatever that record is.
Yeah.
I think that no matter what happens in the first 3 weeks, I say you go with Mike White at quarterback. You want to know why? Because it's kind of to your point. If you're going to have Zach Wilson back and you're going to give him those extra 3 weeks to like really get that knee ready, go see if you do have lightning in a bottle with the young guy, because you already know what you have in Joe Flacco. What's the worst that's going to happen? That you're going to start 0-3? It's probably where you were going to be anyways with Zach Wilson at the helm. But give Mike White an actual 3 weeks to play quarterback for the New York Jets. Start every single game outside of obviously barring an injury. And I'm not going to say it again, barring an injury.
Right.
And you should really see what you have in Mike White. And that's kind of where I wanted to head into that. Being that you don't know, or they say 2 to 4, you tore a meniscus. I don't see, they're football players. If we tear a meniscus, Danny, we're done for the year. But that's us. These guys are professional athletes. He's 22 years old, in the prime of his MILF hunting days. I think he could come back in 2 to 4 weeks. But I would give him those extra 3 games off. Let him come back in that 4th game. Start Mike White.
Well, do you think? Let's end it with this. Do you think
Yeah.
that there's a chance that he ended up having this issue with his knee because he got a little more beefy, a little more weight on him? All of a sudden, it takes a toll on the knees, him trying to cross people over and juke them like he did in that play. Because one, why aren't you running out of bounds? It's preseason. Well, actually, I think I know why. Yeah. But
I wanted to get into that too.
That extra meat might have been a little heavier on his
pause
ligaments, because I showed you that X-ray picture, right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
So, yeah, and to what we were just saying, the reason I believe that he didn't run out of bounds, again, nobody's reported anything, pure speculation. I think, like most starting quarterbacks didn't play the first week of preseason, I think Saleh was only going to put him out there for 1 drive.
Yeah.
But Manny, what happened in that first drive?
He threw a pick.
He threw a pick. I honestly believe that Saleh thought to himself, I can't let this kid go out with him the only drive and then in a pick. It's going to ruin his confidence. Let me put him back out there for a second drive.
And let him tear his ACL.
And so what does Zach Wilson do? He feels it. He's like, okay, he's giving me a chance, so I got to make a play. He's not thinking preseason anymore. He's thinking, I got to prove something here. I got to get at least the first down. I got to prove myself on this drive. So instead of running out of bounds, he tries to get a couple extra yards in a preseason game. Not because they matter, but because he's trying to make up for what he just did the previous drive where it was throw a pick. That's what I think happened.
Okay. Give me 35 seconds here. Give me the biggest takeaways from what you saw from your team, from Sauce Gardner to your defense, offensive line. Based off what you saw, what's your biggest takeaways from that first game?
Our defensive line is looking solid. Michael Clemens, the kid, I think I sent you a picture of him. He showed up to training camp without a shirt on, just walking through the parking lot with no shirt. That kid is an absolute monster. He had like 7 pressures, a sack, 4 tackles. Like, he's going to be a problem. And he's not even in the starting. He
was definitely around the ball. He was definitely around the ball. And
then Sauce Gardner is Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, I'll play a video for you right quick as we speak here. Yep. He's going to be a problem also. I think that some people aren't expecting him to be as good. They think that maybe when he gets to the pro level, that maybe he's not going to perform at the level that he was performing at when he was in Cincinnati. But
that was pretty solid coverage, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not going to leave it up there, but yeah, for sure, he's looking good.
Okay, all right. So from New York Jets, game 1, big scare, few takeaways. Kind of have an idea of what you want to see if he does have an extended missing period. Let's move on over to those Miami Dolphins, which are the second best team in the AFC East. And
they saw the game the night before, and they decided they weren't going to play any starters that game.
At all. By the way, they said, you know what? Besides
not even Teddy Bridgewater.
Besides not even playing any starters, they said, you know what? Maybe we give Skylar Thompson the whole game, and he did. He played lights out, and I know that's tough to say. Again, I know it's tough to say that he played lights out because it's a preseason game, but here are the points I'm saying why he played lights out. What do you want to see in a rookie quarterback? You want to see poise. You want to see accuracy. You want to see him step up into the pocket. You want to show awareness. He did all 4 of those things. All 4. Threw a beautiful touchdown pass to Lynn Bowden in the back end zone, and I mean dime worthy. But again, he's playing against second stringers. He's playing against third stringers. But correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Tony Romo undrafted? It's like...
Well, that's what I was going to say. If you are a third stringer, you should be outplaying other third stringers, and that's what he did. That's how you prove that you're no longer a third stringer. You should maybe be a second stringer. If you're outperforming the second stringers, maybe you are worthy of being a first stringer.
Right. So I loved Skylar Thompson, and I don't know if I ever did tell you that. I tweeted at him right after the game because I actually did meet Skylar Thompson as well at where I go get my haircut, Andy's Barbershop on University and Plantation. And you know what? You know how I feel about football players. It's just they're in their thing. Like, don't go interrupt him. I don't care if he was getting a haircut. He was doing his thing. It is what it is. But I felt like tweeting at him because I feel like you have that stigma that you're a 7th rounder. People are like, oh, this guy's not even going to make the team. There's been plenty of late rounders. There's been plenty of undrafted quarterbacks who made noise. And I think for the time he got, 4 quarters, he played an amazing game. He ran out of the pocket, threw dimes, showed awareness. He did everything you could possibly ask a man to do. But furthermore, right after the game, and I'll get into other details about the game here in a short. But can you show the tweet from somebody who got a lot of hate for showing this tweet? The previous Sun Sentinels, I think he's literally on his last few days of the Sun Sentinel. He's going to go work for I Am Athlete full time, Mr. Omar Kelly. And this is what he tweeted after seeing the Miami Dolphins preseason game. My thoughts: Jalen Phillips wasn't as impactful as I expected. Miami's run game didn't impress me. Lynn Bowden definitely needs more chances, which I agree. And then depth at defensive tackle, cornerback, wide receiver, inside linebacker, and offensive tackle remains an issue. Danny, let's go ahead and remove those comments. And you know what? I want to touch on those. If you go read the feedback on people who left comments on his thread, they were bashing the shit out of him.
Were they?
Yeah. Horrible. Just read some of the comments like, oh my God, this is why you're leaving Sun Sentinel because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Blah, blah. A lot of harsh shit. But here's my thing. Just because you get paid to do a job doesn't mean you know how to do it correctly, right? Like, there's plenty of people who are teachers in your field. There's plenty of people who work in my construction field that are getting paid, but they probably suck at what they do. I think Omar Kelly sometimes is really biased, and I think sometimes he hits it right on the dime. When I read this tweet, you want to know the only thing I didn't agree about? Was that Jalen Phillips wasn't impactful. I think he was impactful. I think he was dropping into coverage very well. He was around the ball a few times. He got a few tackles. When there was passing pressures, he was pressuring the hell out of the quarterback. Now, granted, what do you expect? Like, what did you expect out of a preseason game? You wanted this guy like go out there fucking 120%? No, even if he was playing at 60%, Danny, which I believe is what he was doing, he was impactful. Let's move on.
Why would you say that he's out there at 60%? I figure that because it's preseason.
Yeah, and because Jalen Phillips is going to be a starter on your team, so they had the defensive starters out there for a little bit. Why not? Okay. You don't have to go balls to the wall, especially when you're playing Blaine Gabbert. You're playing Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. It's not Tom Brady back there. Like, let's be serious. Leonard Fournette's not playing. It was Giovanni Bernard at running back. Again, why do you have to play at 100%? Mike McDaniels knows what you're about. But let's move over to the very last comment. Depth at offensive line. He said offensive tackle, but I believe it's offensive line. Danny, we know that's been an issue. So I don't know why other Dolphin fans would read that tweet and find it offensive. Danny, is it offensive to say that we need more depth at offensive line?
Oh, I mean, no. I mean, everybody knows that, but I'm here reading some of the comments, and a lot of people are getting on him about Phillips, about Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, and again, that's why I didn't agree with that one. But again, depth at wide receiver. Do you think we need depth at wide receiver? I think wide receiver is probably one of our strongest positions. Cedric Wilson played really well. Really well.
But we had this conversation just an episode or two ago where I told you I think you're top heavy. I think that you're really good at the top, but the rest of the way you're maybe average at best.
But that's fine. That's what depth is for, right? You're not going to have Randy Moss at your third and fourth stringers. If you could pull out a Devon Best, if you could pull out a Ted Ginn Jr. at your third and fourth wide receiver spots, I think we have that in Cedric Wilson. Who that fourth wide receiver is right now?
I don't even think Cedric Wilson is as good as Braxton Berrios, honestly.
Do you need me to do it to you again? Cedric
Wilson, I just...
How dare you?
That's all I got to say. The guy was balling. He made a lot of plays. He caught like 680 yards for the Dallas Cowboys at what? The third or fourth option? He got 6 TDs last year. Sir, when you're the fourth option on a team, not Braxton Berrios, who was basically the number one option for Zach Wilson last year, he didn't make half of that noise. So I think for Cedric Wilson, he for sure has that third spot locked down. But again, did you
Dak
find...
Prescott threw for almost 5,000 yards, though. There's not going to be one receiver that gets 5,000 yards. They throw the ball like crazy. Of course he was going to get a bunch of yards.
But that's what I'm saying. He got the opportunities and he showed out is what I'm saying. He's going to get opportunities as a third wide receiver on the Miami Dolphins is what I'm also saying. So I feel confident.
The third option.
He is the third option.
Gesicki's
At wide
the third
receiver.
option.
At wide receiver is what I'm saying, you disrespectful bastard. At wide receiver, he is the third wide receiver, and he has that third position locked down.
All right.
Furthermore, reading the rest of his tweet, take off your Jets hat real quick. Did you really find anything offensive? Like if you were not a Jets fan, let's say you were just an NFL fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you find anything disrespectful from those comments that he made? I think they were all fair points outside of the whole Jalen Phillips thing.
The Jalen Phillips thing is the thing that stood out to me the most, honestly.
Yep.
Because everybody raves about him. I wasn't surprised at the offensive line. I wasn't surprised at the wide receiver because, like I told you, I don't think that you guys have much depth there. The cornerback thing, I was kind of surprised because that tweet came out before this kid had tore his ACL.
Trill Williams,
So I was surprised at the cornerback, and I forgot what other thing he said, but
so let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I'm not surprised that he said that. I know Christian Wilkins. I know Zach Zeeler, Raekwon Davis. These are all defensive tackles, right? But none of them really played a lot or at all. So I get him saying that if either of those options go down, you don't have a lot of depth. That is like two things can be right. You could be solidified at defensive tackle, but also not have depth behind them. So I agree. We don't have a lot of depth at defensive tackle. If Xavier Howard goes down, you only have Byron Jones. Nick Needham cannot fill Xavier Howard's shoes. Trill Williams cannot fill Xavier Howard's shoes. So again, another fair point. Yes, you got your left corner locked down. You have your right corner locked down. You have your nickel locked down with Nick Needham. But if three of those options go down, which again, it's few and far between that you're going to lose all three of your starting corners.
No, and most teams would be suffering if that were to happen.
Correct. So how do you find, and I'm not saying you, but I'm saying Dolphin fans, how do you find that? He made a very fair point. If you lose Xavier Howard, lose Byron Jones, you got slim pickings right behind them. The best highlight right now is Jason Sanders. He went out there 4-4, balling like always. Skylar Thompson, another one. But Danny, the running game was ineffective. Mike McDaniel said it best right after the game. He goes, I think the reason that we were so ineffective is because they made it such a point to stop it, which could allude to the fact of why Skylar Thompson had such a good game passing the rock, right? It makes sense.
They went all in on the – yep.
So I think one of the points, before we move on here, I think one of the points that you have to bring up in next week's game when you play the Oakland Raiders is maybe you want to try to establish that run a little bit more. Even if they're trying to stop it, you have to devise other ways to try to run that rock. Now, granted, you didn't have Raheem Mostert play. Sony Michel was playing. Salvin Ahmed played. Not your starting running backs, but for the most part, you got to do a little bit more. Remember, most of the Teron Armstead didn't really play. I think he didn't play. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that one. You could tweet at me. But I don't believe he played. There's no point in putting your franchise left tackle out on the field first preseason in the game. But again, my biggest point to go to game 2 is you have to try to establish that run a little bit more. Skylar Thompson played amazing. One of the points that I brought up to you off the show was, do we really need Teddy Bridgewater in the team? If you get a second game out of Skylar Thompson like that, let's say Tua plays a few series next game, right? If Skylar Thompson comes in and Teddy Bridgewater, for whatever reason, doesn't play, and he has another game like he had here, right? Do you think Skylar Thompson should cut that salary from Teddy Bridgewater to just have Skylar Thompson play? Or do you say, you know what? Skylar Thompson goes to the practice squad. We keep Teddy B as our, long behold, our worst case scenario if Tua does go down. Do you think that's the better route? And before you answer, I think if right now where we are, it's cute what he's done, but I prefer to stick with Teddy B, who's done it much longer than Skylar Thompson.
Before I get into the QB talk, just real quick, I was looking it up. Cedric Wilson dropped 5% of his passes last year.
That's fine. That's fine. That's still not as much as Denzel Mims.
Yeah, Denzel Mims didn't play last year. All right. So Teddy Bridgewater, I think, is a good quarterback. I don't know if you want this kid. What was his name? Skylar Thompson. If he were to ball out, I understand why that excites you.
Yes.
But I think that may be more bad than good in the long run. Just for the simple fact that we talked about how Tua doesn't have a very easy road to start the season. Right? He's playing against Bill Belichick, then against the Bills defense. And I forgot who was week 3. Oh, no, he's playing against the Ravens and then the Bills, I believe it was.
And then we got the Bengals as well. It's right. Four tough opponents start the season.
Right. So there's a possibility, right? Maybe it doesn't happen, but there's a possibility that Tua doesn't look great to start the season.
Yeah.
Now, I know sports fans. I know how this goes. I know there's a large divide in the Dolphins nation over Tua.
Huge.
So
Huge.
hypothetically, let's say that your defense plays decent, but
Yep.
you lose because your offense hasn't gotten clicking yet.
Yep.
People start pointing to Tua.
Yep.
Who's every fan's favorite person on the team?
Backup quarterback.
The backup quarterback. So all of a sudden, you know what Teddy Bridgewater is, and I think Teddy
Yes.
Bridgewater is good, but nobody knows what Skylar Thompson is.
Nope.
So if he looks good in preseason and Tua doesn't look very good to start off the season, there's a good chance that all of a sudden you start hearing, let's see what he got. We're 1-3, we're 0-4, 0-3, whatever it may be.
Wow.
If you start this season that way.
I know. I'm just saying, wow. You had fun with that 0-3, 0-4. You had really fun. You had a lot of fun with that. I'm just saying, you had a lot of fun saying it.
But so that's even if you start 2-2, if Tua isn't performing and you're like, we're 2-2, but we have a good chance of being 4-0 if Tua played better, I think there's a good chance that people start asking for this kid. So I think that might bring more bad than good. Now, is it really bad for you to have good players? No,
not at all.
But when I'm going to throw it back to 2018 as a Jets fan, when we drafted Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater was looking great in training camp and his first or second preseason game. So they immediately traded Teddy Bridgewater. Why? Because if Sam Darnold struggles, you know what was going to happen.
Yep. Put Teddy Bridgewater in the game.
Right. So they traded him before the third preseason game. They traded him away. It's something that you don't want to deal with when you have a young quarterback that is trying to find himself in the league and trying to find that confidence.
Okay.
And if you have this kid behind him that's scratching at his heels, and then the fans get behind him because he's balling in the preseason, even though it's preseason, I mean,
it's fair. It's fair. So in your quarterback room, you don't have that potential. Like you don't.
No.
That's it. It was a wrong word to use. You definitely have potential in the quarterback room. What I kind of meant more is, I don't think Zach Wilson is living under the same pressure that Tua Tagovailoa is living. That's kind of the point I was making. So if Zach Wilson has a rough first 4 weeks, which obviously he's not going to play the first 4 weeks, or at least we hope that he doesn't play the first 4 weeks.
I know. I hope he's back after week 1 or 2, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, so let's say he comes back week 4, like we said before, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he has a rough 3 games, they're going to chalk it up to he didn't really get preseason play. He's coming off an injury, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Tua is past that.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what happens this season, the microscope definitely on this kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think no matter who you have at quarterback right now, I think they may give me a call and be like, look, this guy's not hacking it. Come play quarterback for us. But in the quarterback room, I would say, Skylar Thompson, if you come out and ball again, I think you have a real shot at making this team. And I think you should make this team. But being that it would be a lot of dead money to get rid of Teddy Bridgewater right now, whether you trade him, cut him, I say you keep him. Skylar Thompson to the practice squad. I'm very happy with that. One thing that's funny, though, what you said, which is leading us into our next topic right here. You said you know how Dolphin fans are. If Tua starts struggling, and because it's so far to the right, it's so far to the left, the fandom for Tua, like you find rarity in the people in between, which I'm one of those in between guys. I feel like the guy needs talent around him. They've given it to him. Now he gets every opportunity to show this is what I could do. But then, regardless of what the right says or regardless of what the left says, it's like they're so bipolar opposites. It's like nobody's ever going to win. But it leads into this. I think Dolphin fans are so damn fickle. But one of the biggest things they've always said throughout history, Danny, if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, apparently the Miami Dolphins have built this team so nicely and they've gotten so much hype. One of the best things that has happened in the Dolphins franchise history is they have finally sold out for the first time ever of season ticket membership. Now, when you read that, what was your first thought?
I was shocked. How does a team with so much history as the Dolphins, you had Dan Marino for what, like almost 20 years?
Yep.
How is this the first time you guys ever sell out season tickets? Like
defensive
to me,
greats as well, like
yeah,
Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor, Patrick Surtain, Sam Madison, Brock Marion. You had talent on that defense, along with Dan Marino. I'm just saying.
it just doesn't make sense to me because
Doesn't
like
it,
I
though?
get I get that like the last 10 years, the last 20
Oh,
years,
20 years ago.
but the first time in history, you guys went undefeated one season. Even if it was an overrated season, you still went undefeated. It's crazy that it's the first time in history that you guys sell out the whole. Like I couldn't believe it.
Here's my point to that.
I thought that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No, go for it.
I thought for a second, and I had to read it carefully, that it was the first time at Sun Life, maybe. But no, it was literally the first
Hard
time.
Rock. Hard Rock. Don't be disrespectful. Hard Rock Stadium.
Oh,
Hard Rock.
what I
And
call
you know
it?
what? You called it Sun Life, which was like 4 names ago, but that's fine. That's
Oh.
fine. I would have accepted Joe Robbie Stadium as a correct answer. But really, were you shocked? I wasn't.
Yes,
I was
shocked.
not shocked to hear that said. Do you want to know why? Again, just boosting my own ego here. There's few and far fans like me. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's terrible, we're there for our team. We've mentioned before, I think week 1 or episode 1, we mentioned it, was there's few fan bases who just hardcore love their goddamn team no matter where they are. Miami has a bunch of fair weather fans. Whether you're a Marlins fan, well, Marlins have always been terrible when it comes to fan bases, but it is what it is. You know what? They have the same 5,000 Cubans always buying the same tickets every single year.
And they have, behind the Heat, I guess, the most championships of any team down here in South Florida.
Yeah,
no?
that's true. I think they have 2 as well. Then they have the Dolphins have 2.
Since the 90s, I mean, since the beginning of the
right,
90s.
Right. So it didn't shock me because I know Miami fans are fair weather fans. If this blows up, like let's say we have an 0-16 season and we keep every single player, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think we're going to be sold out of season tickets next year? As quickly as we sold them out this year, those Dolphin agents are going to be trying to get everyone back to rebuying their tickets. I'm going to continue being a season ticket holder no matter where I live because I have awesome seats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if and when it happens that you want to sell those tickets, Danny, nothing that I know about, but if and when you sell those tickets, the resale value is pretty good because the other team wants to see their team. But for the most part, I wasn't shocked when I read it because of that, because I know that Miami fans are fair with it. Literally, you're in an NBA Finals championship game with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Ray Allen, Chris Bosh, with like 4 minutes left, and you have fans leaving the damn arena. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I think it was on the 2 minutes when they left. Still way too early.
Regardless of when it is.
Yes,
You're
I
playing
agree.
basketball. It's down by 10, 12, whatever the hell it was.
It was like 6.
Again, that shows you in a nutshell what Miami fans really are. They won't spend money on their team. They won't pay to come out. But you know what? They'll sit on their goddamn couch at home and talk all the shit in the world about how you should shut up because you have no idea what you're talking about when they don't even have one piece of merchandise hanging in their goddamn house. But yeah, I wasn't shocked.
I was shocked. And I remember you said, well, hopefully it gets loud. The first thing I thought when I saw that you tweeted that was, there's a good chance that most of those people are going to sell those tickets. I promise you that close, not half, but close to half of those Steelers and Packers tickets of the people that are attending are going to be sold from season ticket holders.
I feel, well, now for sure it's going to be season ticket holders because every single seat at Hard Rock Stadium belongs to a Miami Dolphins season ticket holder. That's kind of how it works.
No, it doesn't.
No, but what I'm saying is like we've sold every seat in the house. So what I mean by that is,
but not season tickets. They don't have 70,000 season tickets.
But what I mean is, you'll know the big difference of if it's still a away team's home game, basically, because it's what it's been for the last 20 years. You want to say? Mm-hmm. I think week 1 against the New England Patriots, the New England Patriots fans, they also do come out. Do they come out as hardcore as Steelers and Cheeseheads? Not as much, but you know what? They come out. I think that's when you'll really notice what kind of atmosphere it is. Is it a Miami Dolphins home game or is it still the visitors' home game at our house? I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm not gonna be battered. I think that I am going to have, and my team's gonna have, the home field advantage it's been looking for the last 20 years.
I mean, I think that, like you said, Miami's an event town. They all show up to Bad Bunny concerts in droves.
And it was sold out. It was sold out at Hard Rock Stadium.
The last 2 nights. So I do think that because the Dolphins have some hope, I think that you guys will have some type of home field advantage. Now, if it gets into – if you guys have what happened last year where you had hope last year also, you won that first game, everybody was hyped, and then you lose 8 in a row, I think that everybody jumps immediately off that bandwagon.
Yep.
But, I mean, it all depends on how you guys are looking in the first half of the year.
Yep, I agree, Danny. And, I'm looking forward to game 2 of the preseason. I, unfortunately, will not be able to make it out to the Oakland Raiders game. But I'm looking forward to hopefully playing a few series so we can see what he has with the starting offensive team. I'm sure you're looking forward to Mike White's second game, and there's going to be notes that we're going to touch on episode 5.
Joe Flacco's already getting QB1 reps. So
okay, so he is getting
– okay. Yeah, it's Joe Flacco starting.
All right, so Joe Flacco is getting the starts. We're going to see how he does in game 2 of the preseason. But Danny, we've come to the conclusion of episode 4 of Battered Fans NFL podcast. Any going away notes of what you're looking for towards the next game?
No, I look forward to see Joe Flacco stand in the pocket and get killed, and maybe that way Mike White. No, I'm okay with Joe Flacco playing. I'm joking. I'm okay with Joe Flacco playing. He
calls me a piece of shit for saying Zach Wilson, but now he wants Joe Flacco getting killed behind. You heard it. He said
Elijah Moore had his coming out party with Joe Flacco under center. That's the first game that he blew up. So I understand that a lot of people are excited about Elijah Moore getting some reps with Joe Flacco, since Joe Flacco seems to like to find him on the field. Joe Flacco he'll do well. The thing with Mike White is that he loves to dump it off to running backs. He took this to the safe passes. If you look at his games, yes. If you look at his games, the majority of his catches were by Michael Carter and Ty Johnson. So, Joe Flacco throws it down the field a little more than Mike White is willing to do.
All right, we got 30 seconds on our timer. I got one final question. Are the New York Jets the dirtiest team in the NFL in the preseason? I think it's up there. What the hell were you guys doing smashing into Jalen Hurts when he's already literally at the New York Jets bench?
I plead the fifth. I have no idea. Wow. Rob, look, can you really control all 55 players?
Yes.
Robert Saleh supposedly has one rule in practice. You're not allowed to throw punches at each other.
That's the only rule.
The last 3 or 4 days, everybody's been throwing punches at each other. We've had so that might say a lot about his discipline. I don't know. I don't know. What is he doing about it? Because apparently if they keep doing it, he's not doing much to stop it.
Well, you guys are a bunch of dirty fucks trying to injure Jalen Hurts before he even gets a proper chance to lead the Philadelphia Eagles this year. But
and I can say the same about your nasty Dolphin fans tweeting and laughing about Zach Wilson tearing his ACL.
Listen, that guy commented, I still don't agree with his comment of what his real stigma was and what he was trying to approach with that tweet. It was kind of sus. But again, the majority of us weren't happy that any NFL player got hurt, especially the Bill Funter himself. He's a beacon. He's a beacon for all men. That you could still go out there and bag 50-something-year-olds. No, not us. Not us. But hit people. Some men can. Sir, Milf Hunter, Battered fans, Jet fans, Dolphin fans, NFL. We're going to see you guys next week on episode 5 of the Battered Fans NFL podcast.